I stared at my phone, watching the notifications pour in about Kevin's promotion party, while my birthday reminder sat quietly in the corner of the screen, ignored like a wallflower at a dance. My 28th birthday, and not a single text from my family. I'm Blair, and I've spent my entire life being the other wolf child. You know the type, the one whose report cards were met with distracted nods while my brother's B+ sparked family celebrations. Blair, honey, could you help with these streamers? Mom called from the living room. I pocketed my phone and walked in to find her balancing precariously on a stepladder, trying to create the perfect arch of blue and silver decorations. Sure, I said, grabbing the trailing end. Need any help with anything else? Like remembering what day it is? Mom didn't catch my tone. Oh, everything's under control. Kevin's party starts at 7, and the caterers are already setting up in the kitchen. Can you believe my baby boy made partner at 30? I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Amazing, I managed. Blair! Sloane burst through the front door, her arms loaded with gift bags. My best friend took one look at my face and dropped everything. Mrs. W., I'm stealing Blair for coffee. We'll be back before the party. Before Mom could protest, Sloane dragged me outside. The moment we hit the sidewalk, she spun me around. They forgot again, didn't they? Complete radio silence, I confirmed, kicking a pebble. 28 years of sharing a birthday with Kevin's achievements. You'd think I'd be used to it by now. That's it. Sloane grabbed my shoulders. We're not doing this anymore. You're not spending another birthday watching Kevin get showered with attention while you fade into the wallpaper. What am I supposed to do? Make a scene at his party? Hey everyone, it's my birthday too. Please love me. I laughed, but it came out hollow. No, but you could start by standing up for yourself. Your grandmother left you that inheritance for a reason. I touched the locket at my neck. Grandma's last gift to me. She'd been different from the rest, always seeing me for who I was, not who I wasn't. The money's just sitting there. Mom keeps hinting I should invest it in Kevin's new venture. Of course she does. Sloane rolled her eyes. Because heaven forbid you do something for yourself. We reached the coffee shop, and I ordered my usual, an oat milk latte with an extra shot. The barista, knowing it was my birthday from my regular visits, added a free cookie with a small candle. At least someone remembered. I smiled, but my eyes stung. Blair. Sloane leaned forward, her voice serious. What would you do with that money if you didn't have to consider anyone else? If you could do anything? I thought about Grandma's words before she passed. Make waves, little wolf. The quiet ones have the loudest bite. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Need you to pick up Kevin's cake, the fancy one from downtown. I have to go. I stood up, leaving my birthday cookie untouched. Apparently, I'm now on cake duty for my own brother's party. On my birthday. Blair, wait. Sloane grabbed my wrist. Promise me you'll think about what I said. About doing something for yourself. I nodded, but my mind was already spinning with possibilities. Years of being overlooked, of swallowing my words, of watching Kevin bask in the spotlight while I stood in the shadows. Something inside me shifted. Back at home, I delivered the cake to Mom, who was now arranging photos of Kevin's achievements on the mantel. My graduation photo was nowhere in sight. Oh, good, you're back, she said, not looking up. Could you help Kevin's girlfriend set up the slideshow? She's having trouble with the projector. I watched her fuss over the placement of Kevin's law school graduation photo. Mom, do you know what today is? Of course, sweetie. It's your brother's big day. Isn't it wonderful? The quiet rage I'd been suppressing for years crystallized into something sharp and clear. I touched Grandma's locket again, feeling its weight against my chest. For the first time, I saw my family's behavior not as something to endure, but as something to change. Yes, I said, my voice steady. It's definitely going to be a day to remember. I pulled out my phone and Googled women's education charities. Sloane was right. It was time to make some waves, and I had just the tsunami in mind. The party was in full swing, and I was doing what I did best, blending into the background while holding a glass of champagne I hadn't touched. Kevin stood in the center of the room, practically glowing as he regaled everyone with stories about his latest courtroom victory. And then the opposing counsel just crumbled. He laughed, gesturing with his drink. Another win for the firm. Mom clutched her chest, beaming. My brilliant boy. Always knew you'd do great things. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the website I'd found earlier, the Women's Future Foundation. Their mission statement spoke to me. Empowering women to break barriers and create their own success stories. There you are. Sloane appeared beside me, carrying 2 fresh glasses of champagne. Stop hiding in the corner. I'm not hiding, I'm researching. I showed her my phone. Look at what they do. Scholarships, mentorship programs, small business grants. They've helped hundreds of women start their own companies. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Sloane grinned. Much better than investing in Kevin's whatever it is. Real estate tech startup, I corrected automatically. And Mom's already promised him my entire inheritance as seed money. She just hasn't told me yet. A tall woman in a sleek blazer approached us, extending her hand. I couldn't help but overhear. I'm Francesca Lane, Executive Director of the Women's Future Foundation. My eyes widened. You're actually here? She smiled. I'm a friend of Tiffany's. She invited me, thinking I might network with some potential donors. She glanced at my phone. Though it seems you're already familiar with our work. Before I could respond, Kevin's voice boomed across the room. Speech time, everyone! Mom, Dad, you first! We turned to watch as our parents took center stage. Dad cleared his throat. Son, you've made us proud every single day of your life. This promotion is just another testament to your dedication and brilliance. Mom wiped away tears. From the day you were born, we knew you were special. You've exceeded every expectation, surpassed every goal. I felt Francesca's eyes on me. Tough crowd, she said quietly. You have no idea, I muttered, then caught myself. Sorry, I shouldn't. No, please continue. I'm curious why someone would be researching our foundation during what appears to be a family celebration. I took a deep breath. Because I have an inheritance that's about to be promised away without my consent, and I'm done being invisible. Francesca's expression sharpened with interest. How much are we talking about? $500,000, I said. My grandmother left it to me specifically, but my family has other plans. That could fund our entire next year's scholarship program, Francesca said. Change dozens of lives. The room erupted in applause as Kevin hugged our parents. And now, he announced, I have some exciting news of my own. Mom, Dad, Blair, I'm starting a new venture, and I want to keep it in the family. Here it comes, I thought. Blair. Kevin turned to me, his smile confident. I know Grandma left you that inheritance, and I think she'd be proud to see it invested in her grandson's future. Mom was already nodding enthusiastically. "Oh, yes. Blair, honey, isn't this wonderful? A real family enterprise." I felt Sloane squeeze my arm in support as I stepped forward. "Actually, I have an announcement too." The room quieted. Kevin's smile faltered slightly. "Can it wait, sis? We're kind of in the middle of something here." "No," I said firmly. "It can't." I turned to Francesca. "Ms. Lane, would the Foundation be interested in a major donation?" The room went dead silent. Mom's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. "Blair," Dad warned. "Let's discuss this later." "We'd be honored," Francesca said smoothly, pulling out her business card. "Why don't we set up a meeting to discuss the details?" "There's nothing to discuss," Mom interrupted. "Blair's just feeling emotional. Kevin needs that money for his startup." I took Francesca's card, my hand steady. "I'll call you tomorrow. My inheritance, my choice." Kevin stepped toward me, his face dark. "Blair, you're being ridiculous. This is about family." "Exactly." I met his eyes. "It's about family, and for once I'm choosing myself." The silence that followed was deafening. I felt lighter than I had in years, even as Mom started to cry and Dad began to sputter about family duty. Sloane's proud smile and Francesca's approving nod were all the validation I needed. I raised my untouched champagne glass. "Happy birthday to me," I said quietly, and took my first sip of the evening. The Foundation's office buzzed with energy as Francesca led me through a maze of desks where young women worked on laptops, their faces lit with purpose. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched the folder containing my inheritance paperwork. "Nervous?" Francesca asked, opening her office door. "Terrified," I admitted. "My phone's been blowing up since last night. I had to turn it off. That's why we're doing this first thing in the morning." She smiled, gesturing to a chair. "No time for second thoughts." I sat down, touching Grandma's locket. I keep thinking about what she'd say. "Tell me about her," Francesca said, settling behind her desk. She was different. While everyone else was praising Kevin's Little League trophies, she was the one who noticed I'd started a mini library in our neighborhood. I smiled at the memory. She used to say, "Blair, some people shine like spotlights, but others glow like stars, steady and true." A knock at the door interrupted us. Sloane poked her head in, waving a coffee carrier. "Thought we might need reinforcements." "You're a lifesaver," I said, accepting a cup. "Did you get my texts about Mom showing up at my apartment?" 3 times last night, twice this morning," Sloane confirmed, pulling up a chair. "Good thing you stayed at my place." Francesca pulled out a stack of papers. "Let's talk specifics. Your inheritance can fund our scholarship program for 50 young women, plus our entrepreneurship workshop series. I want to focus on overlooked candidates," I said. "The quiet ones who might not usually get noticed." "Like someone we know?" Sloane nudged me, grinning. My phone buzzed in my bag. I'd turned it back on for emergencies. It was Kevin. "Blair, this tantrum has gone far enough. Mom's a mess, Dad's furious, and you're about to throw away your future to spite me. Call me back." I played the message on speaker. Sloane rolled her eyes, but Francesca leaned forward, interested. "Your brother sounds concerned," she observed. "He sounds controlling," Sloane corrected. "Like always." I pulled out my inheritance papers. "He's worried about losing his safety net. Kevin's never failed at anything because he's never had to risk anything. There's always been family money to catch him." "And you?" Francesca asked. "I've been catching myself for years." I started signing the transfer documents. It's time to help others do the same. Another text buzzed through. Mom this time. Your grandmother would be so disappointed in you. I showed it to Sloane, who snorted. Please, that woman would be doing cartwheels right now. Actually, I said, signing the final page, I found something last night when I was going through Grandma's old things. I pulled out a worn journal. Listen to this entry from 10 years ago. Gave Blair my mother's locket today. Kevin asked why she got the family heirloom instead of him. Simple. I told him, because she'll know what to do with it. That girl's got fire in her heart, even if they can't see it yet. Francesca accepted the signed papers with a warm smile. She saw you clearly. Speaking of seeing things clearly, Sloane pointed to my phone. Tiffany's calling. I answered on speaker. Blair? Oh God, you need to come home right now. Your mom's organizing some kind of family intervention. She's called everyone. Perfect timing, Francesca said, holding up the completed transfer confirmation. It's done. My hands shook as I took the paper. $500,000 transferred to the Women's Future Foundation's account. No taking it back now. Blair! Tiffany's voice crackled through the speaker. Are you there? They're all waiting. I took a deep breath. Tell them I'll be there in an hour. And Tiffany, tell them to make room for 2 more people. Sloane high-fived me as I hung up. Finally, front row seats to the showdown. Are you sure you want me there? Francesca asked. I nodded. They need to see what their money's really going to do. How many lives it's going to change. Lives like yours, she said softly. I touched Grandma's locket one last time, feeling the weight of her approval. No more hiding in corners, I said. No more quiet apologies for existing. Time to be the spotlight instead of standing in one. Sloane linked her arm through mine as we headed for the door. Ready to face the firing squad? I thought about Kevin's perfect life, Mom's constant dismissals, Dad's passive enabling. For the first time, their disapproval felt less like a burden and more like proof I was finally doing something right. Ready, I said, and meant it. Let's go make some waves. The living room felt like a courtroom as I walked in with Sloane and Francesca. Mom sat in her favorite armchair, eyes red and puffy. Dad paced by the fireplace. Kevin stood with his arms crossed, while various aunts and uncles filled the remaining seats. Tiffany hovered uncertainly near the door. What is she doing here? Mom pointed at Francesca. She's here to explain exactly where my inheritance is going, I said, keeping my voice steady. Since you're all so concerned about it, there's nothing to explain. Kevin stepped forward. You're making a huge mistake, and we're here to stop you. Actually, I held up the transfer confirmation. You're too late. Mom burst into tears. How could you? That money was meant to stay in the family. It was meant for me, I corrected. Grandma left it to me specifically. To invest wisely, Dad exploded. Not to throw away on some charity case. Francesca cleared her throat. Mr. and Mrs. Wolfe, perhaps I could explain what your daughter's generosity will achieve. Don't bother, Kevin cut in. Blair's just doing this to sabotage my startup. She's always been jealous of my success. Sloane laughed out loud. Success? You mean being handed everything on a silver platter while Blair worked her way through college? Stay out of this, Kevin snapped. No, I don't think I will. Sloane stepped forward. I've watched for years as you people treated Blair like she was invisible. Well, guess what? She just made herself impossible to ignore. Aunt Martha spoke up from the corner. "Blair, sweetie, we're just worried about your future. What will you have to fall back on? Let me tell you what she'll have." Francesca opened her briefcase. Blair's donation will create the Elizabeth Wolfe Scholarship Fund, named after her grandmother. It will help 50 young women start businesses, finish degrees, and break free from exactly the kind of constraints that have been holding Blair back. "This is ridiculous." Kevin threw his hands up. "You're not just destroying my opportunity, you're embarrassing the entire family. Embarrassing the family." I felt something snap inside me. "Like you all embarrassed me at your party, on my birthday." The room went quiet. "What?" Uncle Joe looked confused. "What about your birthday?" "It was the same day as Kevin's party," Tiffany said softly. Nobody remembered. Mom's face went pale. "That's not... We would never..." "You did," I said. "You always have. Every achievement, every celebration, every moment of pride. It's always been about Kevin. Well, now I've done something worth celebrating, and you're all too selfish to see it." "Blair." Kevin's voice softened slightly. "I know you feel overshadowed sometimes." "Sometimes!" I pulled out Grandma's journal. "Want to know what Grandma wrote about your law school graduation?" Today, Kevin got another round of applause while Blair sat quietly with her acceptance letter to graduate school. Nobody asked why she wasn't eating. Nobody noticed she'd been crying. Dad stopped pacing. "You got into graduate school?" 3 years ago, I said. "I declined because Mom said we needed to focus on Kevin's law school expenses." "That's not fair," Mom protested weakly. "We would have found a way." "Like you found a way to remember my birthday, or attend my college graduation, or notice literally anything I've ever accomplished." Kevin stepped toward me, his face dark. "You've ruined everything. My startup..." "Will have to succeed or fail on its own merits," Francesca interrupted. "Just like the women this money will help. Women like your sister, who've been told to make themselves smaller to make room for others." "Get out!" Kevin pointed at Francesca. "This is a family matter." "No," I said firmly. "She stays, because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing who gets to have a voice in my decisions." "Blair." Mom stood up, reaching for me. "Please, we can fix this. We can find a way to undo the transfer." "I don't want to undo it." I stepped back. "I want you to understand it, to understand me, but I'm done waiting for that to happen." I turned to Francesca. "When's the first scholarship meeting?" "Tomorrow morning." She smiled. "We'd love to have you there to help select the recipients." "Perfect." I headed for the door, Sloane right behind me. "Oh, and Kevin, consider this my birthday present to myself. Better late than never." As we walked out, I heard Mom start crying again and Kevin cursing, but for the first time in my life, their reactions didn't feel like my responsibility. "You okay?" Sloane squeezed my hand. I touched Grandma's locket, feeling stronger than ever. "Actually, I'm perfect. Let's go change some lives." The ballroom of the Grand Hotel sparkled with possibility as 50 young women, each with dreams bigger than their circumstances, gathered for the Elizabeth Wolfe Scholarship Fund Gala. I stood near the podium, adjusting my grandmother's locket, as Francesca prepared to make her opening speech. Nervous. Sloane appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. "Because the local news crew just arrived." "What?" I nearly choked. "Nobody said anything about news coverage." "Are you kidding? Young heiress defies family to help underprivileged women. It's catnip for journalists." She handed me a glass. "Plus, your brother's startup just tanked. so the timing is perfect. Kevin's startup failed. Spectacularly. Turns out investors want more than just a famous last name and daddy's connections. Before I could process this, Francesca tapped the microphone. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we celebrate not just the launch of a new scholarship fund, but the power of one woman's courage to challenge the status quo. The room fell silent as she continued. Blair, would you join me up here? My heels clicked against the hardwood as I approached the podium. 50 faces turned toward me, each bearing the same mix of hope and determination I'd seen in my mirror that morning. Tell them your story, Francesca whispered, stepping aside. I gripped the podium, took a deep breath, and began. For years, I was the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one who made herself small so others could feel big. But my grandmother taught me that sometimes the quietest voices have the most important things to say. A reporter's camera flashed. In the back of the room, I spotted Tiffany slipping in, looking uncertain but supportive. This fund isn't just about money, I continued. It's about recognition, about saying, I see you to every woman who's ever been told to wait her turn, to dim her light, to settle for less. Blair. A familiar voice cut through the crowd. Mom stood in the doorway, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I faltered for a moment, but pressed on. Each of you has been chosen because someone saw your potential, even when others missed it. You're not just receiving scholarships. You're receiving permission to be as big and bold as you've always dreamed of being. The room erupted in applause. As I stepped back, the first scholarship recipient took the stage, a young woman who'd started a coding workshop for girls in her garage. Your grandmother would be so proud. Francesca squeezed my arm. And speaking of pride, there's someone here to see you. Mom approached slowly, clutching her purse like a shield. I saw it in the paper, the scholarship fund. They called you a visionary philanthropist. Mom, No, let me finish. She held up a hand. I've been doing a lot of thinking and reading. I found this in Dad's study. She pulled out a stack of papers, my old graduate school acceptance letters. You were accepted to Harvard, Yale, Stanford, full rides to all of them. It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me, her voice cracked, because I didn't see you. I was so busy watching Kevin shine that I missed your light completely. A reporter approached with a microphone, but Francesca smoothly intercepted them. Kevin's startup failed, I said quietly. I know. Mom smiled sadly. And you know what he said? At least Blair can't say I told you so. Even in failure, he was thinking about competing with you. We did that to both of you, didn't we? Before I could respond, one of the scholarship recipients approached us. Ms. Wolfe, I just wanted to say thank you. I was ready to give up on my business idea before this fund. You changed my life. Mom watched the young woman walk away, then turned to me with tears in her eyes. I see you now, Blair. I'm so sorry it took me so long. The evening swirled around us. Speeches, presentations, photos for the press. Each scholarship recipient shared her story, and with each one, I felt Grandma's presence stronger. There's something else. Francesca appeared with a tablet. The publicity from this has attracted more donors. We can fund another 30 scholarships by next quarter. 80 women. I breathed. 80 lives changed. Make that 81. Mom said firmly. I'd like to establish a matching fund in honor of my daughter, the visionary philanthropist. Sloane, who'd been eavesdropping shamelessly, raised her glass. Now that's what I call karma. Later, as the gala wound down, I stood at the window watching the scholarship recipients leave, each clutching their ceremonial certificates. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. "You did good, sis. I was wrong. Call me?" I smiled, touching Grandma's locket. The quiet ones might have the loudest bite, but sometimes they also have the biggest hearts. And finally, gloriously, everyone could see mine. The morning after the gala, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Local news coverage had gone viral, and suddenly everyone had an opinion about the quiet daughter who'd betrayed her family to help strangers. "Have you seen this?" Sloane barged into my apartment, waving her tablet. "You're trending. Cha's quiet revolution is everywhere." I was still in my pajamas, nursing my third coffee. "Dad's country club friends are having a field day. Apparently I'm a socialist radical now. Please, they're just mad because their daughters are asking questions about their own inheritances." Sloane flopped onto my couch. "Oh, and Kevin's ex-girlfriend called. She wants to interview you for her podcast about women disrupting the status quo." My phone rang. Kevin's number. After 3 weeks of silence, he was finally calling. "Hey," I answered cautiously. "So." His voice was tight. "Mom's matching fund. That was quite a move." "Kevin, no. Let me finish. I've been thinking about what you said. About always having a safety net." He paused. "You were right. I never had to try that hard because I knew someone would always catch me." "Is this about the startup?" "It's about everything. Dad's friends won't even return my calls now. They're all too busy praising his progressive daughter and her charitable vision." He laughed bitterly. "Karma's a real piece of work, isn't it?" A notification popped up. Another news alert. I clicked it and nearly dropped my phone. "Oh, God," I breathed. "Kevin, are you seeing this?" "What?" "Someone leaked Dad's company emails. They're not good." Sloane grabbed my tablet, her eyes widening. "Holy shit! Your dad's been promising your inheritance to multiple people? There's emails here guaranteeing it as collateral for Kevin's startup and 3 other business deals." My hands shook as I scrolled through the exposé. Dad had been playing with my inheritance like it was his personal poker chip, making promises he had no right to make. "Blair." Kevin's voice cracked. "I swear I didn't know about the other deals. I thought I was the only one." Another call beeped through. "Mom." "I have to go," I told Kevin. "Mom's calling." "Blair, wait. I'm sorry. For everything." I switched calls. Mom was crying. "Your father. He's being asked to resign. The board found out about everything. The promises, the deals, the way he leveraged your inheritance." "Where is he now?" "Locked in his study." "Blair, what do we do?" The doorbell rang. Francesca stood there, looking concerned. "I came as soon as I saw the news. Are you okay?" I let her in, putting Mom on speaker. "Mom, Francesca's here. Maybe we can figure this out together? Actually." Francesca set down her briefcase. "I have a proposition. The Foundation's board is impressed with your business acumen, Blair. We'd like to offer you a position as Director of Outreach." "What?" Mom and I said simultaneously. "Think about it. You've turned one inheritance into a movement. Imagine what you could do with real institutional backing." My phone buzzed again. Tiffany. "Your dad's friends are jumping ship fast, but guess what? Their daughters are all asking about the Foundation. You've started something huge here." "Blair?" Mom's voice was small. "Take the job, please. Show your father there's another way to build a legacy." Sloane grabbed my hand. Do it. Show them all what the quiet one can do when she finally starts making noise. I thought about Grandma's journal, about all the times she'd written about seeing my potential when no one else did. About the 80 women whose lives were already changing because I'd finally found my voice. Okay, I said, but I have conditions. First, we create a mentorship program. I want every scholarship recipient to become a mentor for the next generation. Francesca nodded, smiling. Done. Second, we expand nationwide. No more small thinking. Already in the works. And third, I looked at Mom's name on my phone. We create a family counseling fund, because sometimes the hardest part of finding your voice is healing the relationships it changes. There was a pause. Then Mom's tearful voice. My brilliant girl. We were all so busy looking up at Kevin, we never saw you were already reaching for the stars. Speaking of Kevin, I said, tell him to come by the foundation tomorrow. Maybe it's time he learned how to build something real, from the ground up. As I hung up, Sloane raised an eyebrow. You're going to help him? After everything? I touched Grandma's locket. Sometimes the biggest revenge is showing people a better way forward. Besides, I smiled, the quiet ones have to look out for each other. The foundation's conference room crackled with tension as my entire family sat around the table. Dad looked aged, his usual confident posture deflated. Mom kept fidgeting with her wedding ring. Kevin stared at his hands. Even Tiffany had shown up, hovering uncertainly by the door. Thank you all for coming, Francesca began, but Dad cut her off. I don't understand why we're having a family meeting at your office, Blair. Haven't you done enough? Robert, Mom warned, using his first name, never a good sign. No, let him speak, I said, standing up. Get it all out, Dad, every last bit. He slammed his hand on the table. You destroyed everything. My reputation, my business relationships, all of it. You did that yourself, Kevin said quietly. When you started making promises you couldn't keep. Dad's face reddened. I was trying to secure your future. No. Kevin looked up. You were trying to control everyone's future, and look where it got us. Francesca cleared her throat. Perhaps this would be a good time to share some news. Kevin, would you like to tell them? All eyes turned to my brother. He straightened his shoulders. I'm joining the foundation, entry-level position, working with small business development. You're what? Dad's voice cracked. I'm starting over, Kevin said. The right way this time. No shortcuts, no family connections. Just hard work and actual merit. Mom reached for his hand. But your law career was never what I wanted, he admitted. I just didn't know how to tell you. Blair wasn't the only one living in a shadow. Mine was just gilded. The silence that followed felt heavy with decades of unspoken truths. I have something to say too. I pulled out a folder. Dad, these are the emails you sent, promising my inheritance to different parties. He flinched. Blair, I'm not finished. I had our lawyers review them. Technically, you committed fraud. Mom gasped. Tiffany stepped forward, but Francesca held up a hand, letting the moment play out. But, I continued, instead of pressing charges, I have a different proposition. The foundation is starting a program for business ethics and corporate responsibility. We need someone who understands firsthand how power can corrupt. Dad's eyes widened. You want me to teach others how not to make your mistakes? Yes. Turn your failure into something meaningful. It's a volunteer position, Francesca added. No salary, no benefits. Just a chance to rebuild your reputation honestly. Mom started crying, but these weren't her usual manipulative tears. Our children are teaching us, she whispered. When did they get so wise? When you weren't looking, Tiffany said from the corner. Everyone turned, surprised by her boldness. Sorry, but it's true. You were so busy building the perfect family image, you missed the actual family growing right in front of you. Kevin stood up. Blair, there's something else you should know. Remember that journal of Grandma's you quoted at the party? What about it? There was an entry about me that you never saw. He pulled out a folded page. She wrote this the day before she died. Kevin came to visit. Poor boy is drowning in expectations, just like Blair drowns in shadows. They both need to break free, but in different ways. Left the money to Blair because she'll know what to do with it. Not just for herself, but for Kevin too. She sees him clearer than anyone. My hand flew to Grandma's locket as Kevin's voice broke. You didn't just save yourself when you donated that money, he said. You saved me too, from becoming exactly what they wanted instead of who I needed to be. Dad stood up abruptly. I need some air. No. Mom's voice was firm. You need to stay and listen. We all do. Blair, Kevin, we failed you both, but in different ways, and it's time we face that. Francesca smiled. This is exactly why we're launching the Family Counseling Fund. Healing has to happen at every level. I looked around the table, at Kevin's relieved face, Mom's tearful smile, Dad's struggling pride, Tiffany's quiet support. The walls we'd built between us were finally cracking. So, I said, who's ready to actually talk? Not about appearances or expectations or what the country club will think. But really talk? I am, Kevin said immediately. Me too. Mom reached for Dad's hand. Dad stared at the table for a long moment, then looked up with wet eyes. I don't know how, he admitted. I smiled, touching Grandma's locket. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. After all, the quiet ones have to start somewhere. The autumn breeze rustled through the Foundation's rooftop garden as 50 new scholarship recipients mingled with their mentors. I watched from the edge, sipping tea from Grandma's old cup. The one thing Mom insisted I take from the house besides the locket. There's my favorite revolutionary. Sloane appeared, clipboard in hand. The press is here for the announcement. How's Kevin doing with his presentation? Nervous, but ready. He's got this. I smiled, watching my brother adjust his tie near the podium. No designer suit today. Just simple business casual, like everyone else. The past few months of working his way up from the bottom had changed him in ways I never expected. Blair! Dad's voice carried across the garden. He was giving a tour to potential donors, his face animated as he explained the ethics program he'd developed. Come tell them about the mentorship initiative. In a minute, I called back. It's almost time. Mom appeared at my elbow, carrying fresh cups of tea. I found her recipe box yesterday, she said quietly. Grandma's, there was a letter inside, addressed to you. My hands shook slightly as I took the envelope. The paper was yellowed, but her handwriting was clear as ever. My dearest Blair, if you're reading this, you've finally done what I always knew you would. You've made waves. Keep going, little wolf. The quiet ones change the world, not with shouts, but with steady, unstoppable action. All my love, Grandma. She knew, Mom whispered. She always knew. Francesca stepped up to the microphone. Welcome, everyone. Today marks a new chapter for the Foundation. I'd like to introduce our new head of development, Kevin Wolfe, with an exciting announcement." Kevin approached the podium, catching my eye with a small nod. "Thank you, Francesca. When my sister donated her inheritance to start this foundation, I thought she was making a mistake. I was wrong. She was making history." The crowd murmured appreciatively. I spotted Tiffany filming everything on her phone, probably for her new documentary about family dynamics and social change. "Today," Kevin continued, "I'm announcing the launch of the Silent Strength Initiative. For every woman who receives a scholarship, we'll provide matching funds to help her family understand and support her journey. Because change doesn't happen in isolation. It ripples through entire families, entire communities." Dad squeezed Mom's hand as Kevin went on. Their weekly counseling sessions were paying off, slowly but surely. "And to kick off this initiative," Kevin smiled, "I'm donating my trust fund, all of it, because my sister taught me that true wealth isn't about money, it's about impact." The applause was deafening. Sloane wiped away tears, trying to pretend she had something in her eye. "That's not all," Kevin gestured to me. "Blair, would you join me?" I walked to the podium, the letter crackling in my pocket next to my heart. "My sister and I grew up in the same house but lived in different worlds," Kevin said. "She was the quiet one. I was the golden child. But here's what we learned. Sometimes the quiet ones speak the loudest through their actions. And sometimes the golden ones need to learn how to listen." I took the microphone. "When I donated my inheritance, I thought I was choosing between family and purpose. I was wrong. Sometimes destroying the old foundations is the only way to build something stronger." Mom stepped forward. "Which is why your father and I are turning our house into the Foundation's first family reconciliation center." The crowd gasped. Dad nodded, looking more at peace than I'd ever seen him. "The quiet ones might have the loudest bite." I touched Grandma's locket, "but they also have the biggest capacity for forgiveness, for change, for love." As the applause washed over us, I looked at my family, really looked at them. Mom, finally seeing me clearly. Dad, learning to measure success in impact rather than dollars. Kevin, discovering his own voice in the process of amplifying others. Francesca appeared with champagne. "To the quiet revolution?" "To family," Kevin countered. "To both," I said, raising my glass. "Because sometimes the bravest thing a quiet person can do is make enough noise to wake up the people they love." The setting sun painted the garden golden as 50 young women and their families celebrated new beginnings. I felt Grandma's presence in the breeze, in the warmth of the fading light, in the steady beating of my heart. The quiet ones might start in shadows, but that doesn't mean they have to stay there. Sometimes they step into the light and find that they're not alone. They're leading a revolution, one whispered truth at a time.